Familiar tunes, a surprise character reveal, and a high-flying nod to the games. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is blowing away fans with its Easter eggs. Here are the best. Spoilers ahead. Sonic 2 begins on the Mushroom Planet glimpsed in the first movie, where Dr. Eggman has been living out a solitary castaway existence, right down to his conversations with inanimate objects.
My grasp on sanity remains absolute. Isn't that right, Agent Stone?
The good doctor receives a series of visitors, most significantly Knuckles the Echidna. The fact that Knuckles first enters the story on the Mushroom Planet is entirely appropriate, given that the locale is clearly inspired by the Sonic & Knuckles level Mushroom Hill Zone. Since Sonic & Knuckles is the first game in which the Red Echidna became a playable character, and since Mushroom Hill Zone is the first level of that game, the stage can easily be seen as Knuckles' debut, his Green Hill Zone, if you will. This introduction includes a couple of other nods to the video games as well. Knuckles being tricked into working for Dr. Robotnik is a common occurrence in the games. Even Eggman's little mushroom machines could be seen as intentional references to the Sonic & Knuckles level, which itself featured various levers, elevators, and other gadgets made of vines and mushrooms.
Gross, smelly mushrooms. I hate mushrooms.
In Sonic 2, Stone, Dr. Robotnik's loyal assistant, has opened up a coffee shop in town. The unassuming storefront actually houses a range of Robotnik's high-tech gear, and that's not the only secret it holds. Mean Bean Coffee Co. is the name of the business, a clear reference for those who remember one of the most unique Sonic the Hedgehog games ever made. Released on the Sega Genesis in 1993, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is a puzzle game set in the early Sonic universe. Though it's far from the fastest Sonic game available, it's remained a well-remembered part of the franchise's history, even being brought back for a surprise boss battle in 2017's Sonic Mania. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 features multiple scenes of Sonic demonstrating his love of extreme sports, namely skateboarding and snowboarding. He turns the house into a skate park as soon as Tom and Maddie leave for Hawaii, and he puts his skills to the test later while escaping from Dr. Robotnik down a snowy mountain. Though less of an Easter egg and more of a general reference, Sonic's predilection for boarding of all types definitely deserves a spot on this list. In the video games, he often takes breaks from his usual sprinting in favor of some sort of extreme ride. The action sequence on the mountain in Sonic 2 seems to pull most directly from the Ice Cap Zone level in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which begins with an extended snowboarding sequence. Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik has a seemingly endless army of robots and gadgets of all shapes and sizes, and a number of them are pulled directly from the Sonic the Hedgehog games. Early on in the movie, after returning to Earth, he acquires a small round hovercraft that serves as his primary mode of transportation, a clear reference to the famous Eggmobile, which the villain has piloted some version of in nearly all of the core Sonic games. Robotnik's giant final boss robot is also a clear callback to the games, albeit a slightly less specific one than his flying pod. The evil doctor has constructed and piloted all manner of mechanical behemoths through the series, occasionally showcasing multiple massive robots in a single game.
Behold my floating masterpiece, the Egg Carrier!
However, the one seen at the end of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 appears most similar to the final boss of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the game. In addition to its design, Robotnik's giant robot harkens back to the series' Sega Genesis days in another fun way. While figuring out how to pilot the machine, Stone briefly shows off a paper manual for it in the style of the Genesis's own instruction booklet, right down to the gridded black and gray background. Knuckles' storyline in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 stays pretty loyal to the video games, and it includes a couple of smaller Easter eggs for dedicated fans. The general setup of the warrior Echidna tribe and their mission of guarding the Master Emerald was changed a bit, but it's still very similar to the lore of the games. The Emerald's hiding place is also very similar to its home of Angel Island in the games. A more specifically evocative moment in Knuckles' quest comes at the very end of Sonic 2. Though the Master Emerald is shattered into pieces, Knuckles is able to locate every shard and reassemble the jewel back into its original form. Anyone who's played either of the Sonic Adventure games should be intimately familiar with this moment, as Knuckles spends the entirety of both searching for the pieces of the broken Master Emerald.
The Master Emerald and the island have been restored.
Perhaps more than anything, video game characters are remembered for their special moves, and there are a lot in the Sonic the Hedgehog games. With Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails all on the big screen together in Sonic 2, it should come as no surprise that they each get to show off some of their most famous techniques from the games. Most of Sonic's moves are already seen in the first movie, but it's still fun to see them again. He employs the spin dash multiple times, appears to use variations of his boost moves from games like Sonic Rush and Sonic Unleashed, and even seems to use his homing attack, a core piece of his kit from the 3D Sonic games, in his battles against Knuckles and Robotnik's robots. Tails shows off his flying powers throughout the film, even carrying Sonic around in the air a couple times in a manner incredibly similar to the games.
Did your butt just turn into a helicopter?
Tails also comes ready with a backpack full of powerful gadgets, from laser blasters and anti-gravity pads to scanners and translators. And of course, Knuckles shows off his own classic moves in Sonic 2, most notably his incredible strength, his ability to climb stone walls with his knuckles, and his gruff attitude.
Your society is full of soft and undisciplined weaklings.
If you're a long-time Sonic the Hedgehog fan, expect to have your ears perk up a lot over the course of Sonic 2 for some audio Easter eggs. Tom's cell phone ringtone is a variant of the Green Hill Zone theme, for example.
So help me, Thomas!
Sorry.
Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails all have game-appropriate sound effects associated with their various moves. And of course, Sonic drops his internet-famous line,
Gotta go fast.
One particularly fun thing about Sonic 2 for fans of the games is that Colleen O'Shaughnessy, the voice actor who's played Tails for years in the video games, actually returns to voice him in the movie.
Hope I'm not too late.
Given that Sonic and Knuckles were both recast with big-name Hollywood stars, it's really nice to see O'Shaughnessy get some cinematic recognition for her contributions to the franchise. She's fantastic as Tails in Sonic 2, just as she always is in the games. One of the big narrative twists in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 comes in the middle of the movie, when it's revealed that Rachel's fiancé Randall is actually an agent of the Guardian Units of Nations, or GUN. In fact, their whole wedding turns out to be a giant sting operation with the goal of capturing Sonic. GUN fills a multi-purpose role in the franchise, and their representation in the movie is pretty accurate to how they've been portrayed in the past. Tom Butler reprises his Commander Walter's role from the first movie, but this time he's established as the leader of GUN. Given how he's styled and his positioning in the story, it seems that he's meant to evoke the unnamed grizzled gun commander from the video games. Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik gets a lot closer to the character's video game look in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The ridiculous mustache, bald head, and beady-eyed goggles are a big part of that transformation. But Robotnik also gets to rock some of his classic clothes throughout the film. His main outfit is a red and black jacket that evokes his look from the more modern Sonic games. But there are also some fun touches for fans of the series' time in the 90s. In one scene, audiences also get a very quick glimpse of a costume on a computer that looks incredibly similar to the villain's old-school outfit. Sonic the Hedgehog can't swim, a trope that Sonic 2 plays on heavily. Early on, Sonic and Tom go fishing on a lake in Green Hills, where Sonic emphasizes his hatred of water and his inability to survive in it. That moment sets up a far more dangerous encounter later on in the movie, when Sonic dives underwater to save Knuckles. In the old games, Sonic could run underwater for a certain amount of time, but it eventually ran out of air. The only ways to re-up on oxygen and keep going were to either breach the surface or find a spot where air bubbles would appear and float to the surface. The air bubbles released by Knuckles and consumed by Sonic in the movie are clearly meant as an homage to this feature of the games. For a Sonic player, there is no more welcome sight than an air bubble. In the final act of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Tails gets to fly a plane, and not just any plane. A red biplane meant to evoke the one he frequently flies in the video games. Sonic even perches on the top wing of the plane as they fly into battle against Eggman's giant robots, just as he does repeatedly throughout the series. In later installments, Tails modifies the plane with all kinds of gadgets and gizmos, including missile launches, different wing positions, and even the ability to transform into a walking mech suit. He doesn't have much time to tinker with the plane in Sonic 2, but he at least adds on a little bit of firepower for good measure. It's also worth noting that while the plane isn't named in the movie, the first scene in which Tails flies it features a massive tornado, because in the games, the plane is called the Tornado.
That wasn't too bad.
At the climax of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic finally unlocks the power of the 7 Chaos Emeralds and transforms into Super Sonic, the glowing golden form that lets him fly around at even faster speeds and blatantly rip off Dragon Ball Z without violating copyright. It's a great moment for fans of the games, as most of them end with similar battles between Super Sonic and some giant enemy. The nature of Super Sonic has changed a bit in the movie, but not in any real major ways. In the games, a heightened form rapidly drains energy from Sonic, often rings, which doesn't happen in the movie. The film's Super Sonic design is spot on, however. and the ensuing battle very much reads like one of classic showdowns from the games. Of course, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 wouldn't be a modern adventure film without at least one post-credit scene to set up the next installment, and this film reveals a secret Black Ops site and an initiative called Project Shadow.
Shadow! It's you?
The way in which Shadow is introduced also hints at some smaller details for the franchise's future, which many viewers may miss. Invoking the Project Shadow name suggests that the movies are sticking pretty close to the storyline of Sonic Adventure 2, which was Shadow's debut. In that game, he's discovered by Dr. Eggman in the depths of a gun research facility called Prison Island, where he's been frozen for decades. That could be the same location glimpsed in the Sonic 2 post-credit scene. Of course, it's unlikely that the family-friendly Sonic films will ever dive too deep down Shadow's edgy side, but there are a lot of interesting possibilities. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.